been told that like I'm a girl and I'm a female and therefore I should like do and be these things, and like I knew from a very, very early age that like I wanted something a little different.
Hi there, welcome to the third episode of Miracle Stars, the podcast produced and created by Mingjek. Today we're having Mingjek's young and talented represented artist, B. Hayden, on the show. Hi, Brittany.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. B. Hayden is an American artist born and raised in Houston, Texas. After receiving her BFA from the University of North Texas, she moved to Brooklyn, New York, and quickly received recognition in her New York art scene. Her works have been featured in numerous galleries in New York, Texas, Thailand. As a figurative artist, she portrays vivid illustrations of the gender spectrum, her contemplation on the climate crisis, and human survival in her latest body of work, Cora. Today we will have a deep dive into her creative process. So Brittany, could you give us a brief overview of Red Cora?
Yeah, Red Cora is my latest like solo show. It went up in like January 2022, and it was basically just like a narrative of like paintings and sculptures and illustrations that explore the gender spectrum. And my like aim was kind of to create more space for people who identify as non-binary, also confronting some climate issues and human survival.
Were there any specific incidents that inspired you to begin this project?
Kind of just like everyday life, I guess. I think that when I like started this whole body of work, I just kind of, I don't know, I thought like a lot about how our planet is kind of burning, and like what that will mean for like human race, and kind of tried to like daydream a little bit about like what will look like over time, and like how they'll have like an effect on our physical appearance, and like just how humans will start to interact with each other when there are probably fewer of us. I started working on it in 2021. I just kind of like developed the ideas through this one painting, and then it grew from one painting and became what it is.
I was thinking how like this topic you're tackling with is really heavy and serious. And were you feeling how were you feeling when you were working on these paintings?
It's definitely a very heavy topic, like but and like it did make me like think. It had me ponder like a lot of things, like talk to a lot of people, especially like my partner's non-binary, so we've like had a lot of discussions about gender, and like, and it is like it's a pretty heavy topic, but it was also like kind of like fun and experimental to create an entirely different world too. So like it wasn't all like pain, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking about climate change, global warming part.
It's definitely not, it's not light. Like I feel like what I've painted is a lot more colorful than how it'll probably actually look. I'm not a scientist, I'm not about to act like I'm one, but it's completely imaginary and just like a little daydream that I've like, what if this happened, I guess.
Was it set in the imaginary world that you created, or was there any inspiration of this fictional world, future world?
Yeah, fully. I kind of pulled from, I like went on a road trip last summer, and we went to the sand dunes, which I didn't even know that there's like so many of them. There's some in Texas, there's some in California, and then we went to the ones in Colorado, and it's just like miles and miles and like hills of sand. And so I pulled that as like my like background in most of these paintings, because it's just like vast and just like so, and for some reason I don't know why, I just like didn't even know that they existed in America. just never like explored America, I guess, or like I don't know, I must have learned it in geography, but I'm bad at history. So, but I was just like, so like throughout the whole trip, that was definitely the highlight for me. I was like, miles of sand, so much of it. And so I pulled that and put those into my paintings.
Are those paintings set in nighttime?
Are they set at nighttime?
Or is it...
Yeah, I'd say more evening. More like closer to evening, maybe like, yeah, like midday evening, I'd say. Because I include the sun in quite a bit of them, but like the sun's always like not highest in the sky. But yeah, although I did think it was really, I've seen some really good like nighttime paintings, like some good moon paintings where it's like a blue palette, and I just think those paintings are so beautiful, and I've always wanted to do one of those paintings, but haven't ever tackled it. Maybe I'll do that.
And I was also very curious about the oranges. And you also made sculptures of the oranges. What do they mean?
So the oranges kind of like grew from this like one day where I was like on the train. I don't know what I was doing or where I was going, but this like girl sat down across from me, and she had these like bright orange Crocs, and then she like got up and left, like got off at her spot, and this girl took her spot, and she had these bright orange nails, and then she like got up and left, and then this other girl didn't sit in the spot but like stood next to it. She had on like some other bright orange. It was all the same shade. It was wild, and I was like, what are the chances? And then I was going to go meet up with my cousin, and she was like telling me that she just got a dog, and she was like showing me photos, and she goes, look at this cute photo, we put him in a shirt, and it was this bright orange shirt. This is all in the same day, like just in a matter of like a couple hours. And I was like, what is this color? Like, and then like at the end of the day, I go to my friend's house, and I was like telling him, I like told so many people about this like incident where I saw this color repeatedly. And he goes, that's wild, because I just put away this shirt and it was bright orange, the same shade. And I was like, so I was just, I don't know. I was like with my painter friend, and she was like, you got to paint it. And I was like, I guess that's what that means. So I started painting it, and then it just kind of like became and then I just started like painting fruit, and then I put a face on it one day, and I was like, well, oranges kind of make sense. They have like thick skin and pores like humans do, I guess. And I also thought it was just like a fun like fruit that you like peel, and it gets really juicy and messy, and so I like wanted to, I don't know, draw it somehow. Yeah, it was a wild day.
Yeah, you even stretched to like sculptures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been really fun. I like did wheel throwing and stuff when I was in school and loved it. I love clay so much. So it was really fun to like go back and like mess around with that a little bit. It's all done with like just air dry clay. Like I definitely don't have a kiln. But I just did them all with like air dry clay and acrylic. It's really fun.
And a lot of postures of the figures in Red Cora are foreshortening bottom level. That's a very difficult angle to draw, to paint. So I wonder, how did you overcome the technical difficulties, and why did you choose it?
So I like use a lot of mirrors. And to get like a worm's eye view, I guess is what it's called. I just like stood on top of mirrors, I guess, and like got it that way. But then also like I take a lot of reference photos, and I'll just like put the camera on the ground. I find it like to be a lot more fun to like really like to paint like from worm's eye view. I don't know, something about just like really expanding the space of a painting and like breaking all these like dimensions and doing all these impossible like angles, like not really impossible angles, but just like impossible perspectives, I guess. Because you can really put the viewer anywhere you want, like in this like atmosphere that you're creating. And I guess like my brain just like immediately wants to like put the viewer into the ground, I guess. But I was also like, I did it a lot for these paintings because I just considered these like figures to be very like god-like, because they're like the last humans that like are existing on Earth, and I just they're essentially gods, and I just wanted them to be like towering over everything and everyone.
Are they the remaining humans? The only ones left?
Sorry, a train kind of went by when you were saying that. Did you ask me a question?
I love the background.
Sorry if you can hear it.
Are you in your studio? Where is your studio?
It's on Broadway. It's like in Brooklyn. I don't know if you've ever heard of Paradise Palace, but it's like a little gallery that like opened up, and they have like a studio space as well. So I rent from them. But I'm moving out soon, which I'm really sad about. But oh well, nothing lasts forever.
Wow, how long were you there?
This is my second year. So I would have been there for it'll be 1.5 years. Because my lease is technically up in January. But to get a little personal, they're raising my like home rent. And I was like, I'm not rich. And I need to not have this studio. So, I don't know. And the owners of Paradise Palace are so, like, they're just so human. Like, they understand. They're like, yeah, we totally get it. But like, so many people are trying to get into this, like, studio space because it's such a good collective. Like, that it was, like, not even hard to find somebody to take over for me. So, sad that I'm leaving, but I have to be financially realistic.
Are you going to be working from your home space?
Yeah, so my roommates and I, we moved into an apartment that has a basement, and like it was always kind of part of the plan to like put our studios in the basement because it's just like, honestly, like if you can make it work, make it work. If you can like work out of your apartment, that's the way to go. The commute is a breeze. It's just walking down the stairs, but I like kind of held back and I wanted to stay at Paradise Palace, but then they raised our rent and I was like, well, looks like I'm gonna have my studio in the basement, and it's gonna be fun. Like it's a little less space, but it's not bad. I'm not really worried about it, and I'm really excited to work in my own apartment.
And you also have a day job.
I work freelance, so I get a lot of days off than I would if I just worked a regular 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And it isn't like, it's pretty reliable. I do art handling, so there's always like somebody who needs something hung or something packed. And even like during the pandemic when everything was shut down, like people were still, like rich people were still buying art and still needed it shipped. So like I mean, obviously I had to stop working because by law I had to. But like if it didn't have to happen, I probably wouldn't have. And like, because just the art handling world is just forever churning out the work. So you're able to kind of skate by as a freelancer. And it's not 100% reliable. Like I definitely get a lot more days off than I expect, but I did start picking up tattooing, and that is way more exciting than art handling. I would really like for that to be my day job.
So could you share a little bit more about your ideas and thoughts on gender? What do genders mean to you?
I should probably specify that I don't identify as non-binary. I identify as like female, and my pronouns are she, her. But I do consider myself a very supportive ally. Like I said, my partner's non-binary. We like discuss gender and gender roles like all the time, and I'm completely on the same page as them. I like I definitely see gender as more of a label, and that it like creates a lot of boundaries for a lot of people, and I absolutely support those who identify as non-binary. I think that I feel I mean, I can't say that I like fully get it because I'm not, like I'm not them, but I feel like I can definitely empathize as much as possible, and I understand like there are times when I don't feel woman, I don't feel like, or I don't feel female, and like there are times when I do also feel more male, but I also, there are many days when I don't feel either. I feel just like more of just like a being, like existing and taking up space and using space, and I feel, I guess neutral is the right word, like I just feel somewhere in the middle. And I think you have a question here that says like, are there times where I feel more feminine or times when I feel more masculine? Absolutely, like definitely. I feel, I think that it's very rare, like even though I identify as, you know, female, it's very rare that I feel really feminine. Like I like get dressed up. I really love wearing dresses and skirts, and I like being like pretty, you know, like whatever that really means. But even when I'm like in a dress, I kind of just feel like like a goose in a dress. Like like I'm kind of just like this being in a dress, and I don't, maybe that's, I don't know what that is, but like I don't know, it's very rare that I feel like really feminine, and when I definitely have like times when I feel really masculine, and it's usually when I'm just like at my dirtiest, like my dirtiest and my sweatiest, I guess. Not that like all masculine people are dirty and sweaty. That's not at all what I'm saying, but I don't know. But yeah, I definitely feel I feel like I fall along many parts of the gender spectrum, I guess.
Do you feel growing up there were expectations on your like gender role, which is not directly related to who you truly are? Because I kind of feel, just like in response to what you were saying, that like feel this gender roles can be like so fluid. This one being is not always really related to to their gender, and once they like when close people to you change their gender identity, you realize that, oh, I start to like treat them differently, but it's but they are still the same people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like there are definitely many times growing up when I'm told that like I'm a girl and I'm a female and therefore I should like do and be these things, and like I knew from a very early age that like I wanted something a little different. Like I don't know, I just like knew. I like would get crushes on teachers and like, you know, whatever, and I was like, well, and then like the second that I like learned what a lesbian was, I was like, that's me. And I'm just gonna bury that in the closet for 23 years. But like but yeah, definitely growing up, I think, I mean, it's just so, especially like in like suburb, like I grew up in a suburb outside of Houston, like it's just so like traditional, and like very much like we grew up Christian, went to church every Sunday, and my mom like I have two sisters, so my mom had like three girls, and she was always like bows and dresses and shiny shoes. And I don't want to say I really like, I wasn't ever like opposed to wearing it. I was kind of just like, this is what I've been put in today, and I'm gonna be wearing this, and I'm gonna do whatever I want while wearing this. And so it didn't stop me from running around and being, but like I definitely like feel like I have way more like masculine energy, I guess. Because I just like always, like I think my first friend, aside from like my neighbor, but like my first friend in school was a boy, and like I just like was always like drawn to hanging out with the boys because I think I just always felt more like one.
Were there any particular message about gender identity and non-binary people you want to deliver to the audience through your work?
Yeah, I guess kind of like what I said before, like essentially what I was trying to create when I was like making the work for Red Cora, this like environment where like I don't know thousands or maybe hundreds, who knows? I think the plant's probably decaying a lot faster than I think, but you know, just like thousands of years from now, or hundreds of years from now, I just think that like the human race will have thinned out quite a bit, and I just really feel like over time we're gonna stop caring so much about like identifying as gender, and I think humans will probably do their best to like create more of a population. So, you know, I mean that's obviously, but I just think that we're gonna like care a little less about identifying as a specific gender and like care more about just like being with each other and loving each other, and like, and that's like what I was trying to paint, was just like creating this like fictitious world where like these like humans or figures could like go and like they were like free to love and free to be and exist, and they didn't have to like worry about anything else other than surviving.
With oranges.
And orange. I just live on oranges.
That's all I eat.
Yeah, that's it. They get all their nutrients from it. It's very realistic.
It's actually, there's like water.
Yeah, it's probably a little more realistic than we think. Vitamin C is a very important vitamin.
Do you consider yourself always an environmentalist?
I definitely care a lot more about the environment that I think than I don't want to say than the average person, because like I don't want to speak for everybody, but like I definitely care a lot about my two biggest pet peeves, like, and things that I make sure that I am being on top of, is littering. I hate littering, which there's so much of it in New York, just so much. And right before the pandemic, I was like made a point to pick up like a piece of trash every time that I was out, that I just like, because there's so many like plastic bags just floating by, you just grab it right out of the air and you throw it away. And like, but then of course when the pandemic happened, I became a little more afraid of germs. And I was like, oh, I think it's not even so much that I became a little more afraid of germs. I think I just became a little more afraid of like what people would think if they saw me picking up trash in the heat of COVID. So I was just like, maybe not. Maybe I don't do that. But I kind of started getting more like less afraid of like just doing it, because I don't know, if one piece of trash can help, and I'll do it. And then I also volunteer at a garden in South Brooklyn every week. I've been traveling a lot these like past couple months, so I've been a little bad about it, but I've been volunteering at this garden for like the last 2 years, maybe a little more. And I just like make a point to compost, because food waste is my other pet peeve. Like, I can't stand food waste. I think it's really important that we compost as much as possible, and like just do what we can to, if we don't eat this food, then we need to give it back and like use it to make and grow more food. So those are like my two things.
Are you vegan or?
I am not vegan. I eat meat. I don't eat it. I don't eat it like all the time. But I just like feel like there's very many like vitamins in meat that I feel like I can't really get in other foods, because like I feel like if you don't eat meat, then you have to have like a very like soy-based diet, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like all the other alternatives to meat are like soy-based, and if they're not soy-based, then they're expensive. And so I still eat meat, and I to cut out dairy as much as I can because it's really just like not great for me. But I do love cheese.
Did you do anything in the Pride Month this month?
Oh, hell yeah.
Summer Pride Month. I got so gay with it. And like, yeah, my partner and I, we've just like every weekend there's like something happening or something like Pride related. They are on the committee for Dyke March, so they're just like constantly just like doing things for Dyke March, and like I'm just there for the parties. Because I'm volunteering with them. So Dyke March is this Saturday, and I'm volunteering with them. We're doing accessibility committee, or they are like the head of like accessibility committee, and I'm just volunteering with them. But it'll be really fun. I'm really excited for Dyke March. I think it'll be a pretty long walk while pushing a wheelchair and 80 degrees, but I mean, it's gonna be like 30,000 dikes, and I'm really excited about it. So it's gonna be real fun. And then I think we're going to the beach. I think we're gonna go to Jacob Reese on Sunday. So
I'll follow your stories on Instagram. I'm sure you're going to post a lot.
Yeah.
Great.
yeah. Have you been doing anything for Pride Month?
Did I? No, not really.
My friends are like Jamie, you're bisexual.
We've also been really busy. You're starting this whole thing. Like, I feel like if I wouldn't have like had time to party if I was starting a whole company, basically.
Cute though. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope I didn't say anything problematic, but